Hello, quick video on mini levels. This is completely unscientific, but there's been a lot of debate about whether you should use mini levels for leveling your gun or leveling your scope, and about whether they're actually accurate or not. So I just thought, because I've got quite a few, I used to be a plumber, so I've got a few levels from when I was a plumber, and then I was a surveyor, so I've got a few levels from that. So over the years I've collected quite a few levels. I've got some on the workbench here. I've actually got a few other levels, but these are the main ones that I could find to hand. And then I've got some mini levels here which you would use for setting up your gun and your scope. So I tried to find the most flat and level surface that I could in my garage, and it's actually this workbench. I built these benches myself, and when I was a plumber I was quite OCD about getting my pipe straight and level and my radiator straight and level, so I like to think I'm quite good at getting things level. So this worktop, when I put the levels anywhere, were pretty much straight and level anywhere on this surface. So I've actually drawn a line down there, and I've put all the levels on the same point on the line just to see how they match up and whether the bubbles are all the same or not. From what I can gather, there's no, unless you're sort of a manufacturer of levels, there's no 100% guaranteed way of calibrating a level other than putting it up against the known level surface, which is what I've tried to do here. You can check if your level, if you've dropped it or you've whacked it, and sometimes the actual bubble in the level can be out of whack with the level itself. You can test that. What you do is, I'm not sure if you can see this, I'll bring it in a bit. But basically, if you get your level on a surface, so this one, actually we'll go with the biggest one. This is the longest level here. The bubble there's about half a mil, it's bang in the middle, and there's about half a millimetre between the end of the bubble and the two lines. And the way you can test to see if it's out is turn it round 180 degrees. So I'm going to do that now. Just turn it round, put it back on the same mark, same line. So I've got the line down here, and the bubble is exactly the same. It's in the middle, and there's about half a millimetre to a millimetre gap between the bubble and the two lines. So that tells you that the bubble vial in the spirit level is correct. If you had a slight gap, so if the bubble was tilting up slightly or still tilting down slightly, so the bubble was slightly to one side, if you then turn it 180 degrees, you're still going to have that error. So if it's pretty much central, you turn it 180 degrees and it's still pretty much central, then your level's okay. If you've got a slight tilt to one side or the other, you turn it 180 degrees and it's still got a tilt, then your level's out. So, as I said, I've tried to put them on the flattest surface I can find. I'm just going to sort of show you the levels here. Let me get out of the way so I'm not whacking me tripod. So that's the biggest level. As you can see, it's pretty much bang in the middle. This one's about 10 inches shorter. So this one's about 3 or 4 foot long. This one's about 2.5 foot long. And again, as you can see, the bubble, I'm hoping you can see that, the bubble's pretty much bang in the centre. This is a fairly cheap metal level that I've had for years. It's not showing up too well, but that, try and get my camera over a bit. But the bubble is actually, again, fairly central. And then I've got a cheapish sort of, I think this is a Stanley level. And again, I'm trying not to tilt the camera so you can get it. The bubble's pretty much bang in the middle. This is a cheap plastic one. I don't think you can see that. While I'm looking, this one is actually out slightly. It's about 1 millimetre to the left. So this level is probably out. Let me just turn it round and see if it's still got that error when I turn it round. So it's this cheap plastic one. It's about half a millimetre to the left. So I'm going to turn it round 180 degrees, put it back on the same line, and yeah, it's still about 1 millimetre to the left. So that one it is, compared to all the others, slightly out. this one is slightly out as well. This is an old sort of vintage, I think this is 1920s, 1930s wooden level with a brass top, and I think the wood has warped slightly over the years. So again, this one is actually half a mil to the right. So if I just turn that round, put it back on the same line, yeah, now it's about half a mil to the left. So that one is slightly out, but it's, you know, for most things like leveling up pipes and things like that, it'd be fine. Then we get on to the mini levels. So I've actually got three. I've accumulated a few over the years. So these are actually called gunsmiths levels, and they're actually magnetic. They will stick to metal. So again, if I try and get that in focus, so obviously you'll see the bubble is moving. And the basic physics around bubble levels is that you've got a vial filled with liquid. I think normally it's an alcohol-based liquid, and you've got a tiny air bubble. And physics will say, because the air is lighter than the liquid, you know, it's a bit like when you're diving under the sea and you breathe your oxygen, the bubbles always rise. This is exactly the same principle. So the bubble will always go to the top. So obviously if it's level, you've got your two lines in the middle of the vial, or sometimes they've got one vial, it should always line up with those two lines. Now again, I'm going to try and zoom in a bit actually. I don't want to zoom in too much. So I'm just hoping you can see. So I've got two there, and they're pretty much bang in the middle. They're both pretty much bang in the middle. Then here I've got cheapo Amazon levels, and I think I got a pack of 5 of these. I just picked 3 out of my gun box, and again they're pretty much the same. I think maybe one of them is half a mil, maybe the bottom. I think it's just because it's at an angle. I think they're pretty much, you know, there's not. You'd have to look pretty close to see if there's any difference. There probably is a tiny 1/4 millimetre, 1/2 millimetre, but they're pretty much bang on. And I did try flipping them over on different sides as well to see if that made a difference. And I think on some of them it does make a difference. Presumably on the cheap ones, the manufacturing of the vial there's going to be slight intolerances in the maybe where the liquid's contained, or even in the size of the bubble. You know, I don't know how they get the air bubble in there, whether it's injected into the liquid and then sealed. I have no idea, but I suppose in the really cheap Chinese ones you might have manufacturing inconsistencies, but to my eye that's pretty close. And then lastly, you've got these little tiny, they're actually called button levels, and again I'm not right above that, but the button is pretty much in the middle. Pretty much, if I sort of try and show you, the bubble does move around. Yeah, so you can see it moving around there. And if I put it back on the line, it's pretty much, I think the camera's slightly tilted. I'm looking at it. If I get right over it, you might, yeah, that's sort of, it's pretty much bang in the middle. So I think for the purposes of setting up a scope or a gun, it would be okay. I'm just going to zoom out a bit there. Yeah. So I've got a couple of guns set up here. I've got my Cometa laminate and my HW100, just to sort of show you. So obviously on the Cometa it's a break barrel, and you have got a flat surface here. So the theory is you would get one of your levels, and you could put it on there. And this isn't, I haven't set this up, so it's probably not dead level. Actually, it's not that far off. And then you'd probably have another level on the scope. So the theory is you're leveling the gun first of all. That's assuming that the action is level in the stock. And then once you know the action or the barrel is level, you're then leveling the scope, and you're aiming to get both these levels the same. Doesn't always work that way, but there you go. And some guns, obviously if this wasn't a break barrel, it might not have the flat section here, so it would all be curved. That's all curved, so you can't put a level on there because it's it's a curved section. You could put the level on the stock, but again, that is assuming that the action and the stock are both in the same vertical plane. On the 100, you've actually got, switch my light round a bit, get a bit more light on it. So you have got quite a few flat sections on the 100. You've got a flat section here, flat section here, flat section here. Obviously the barrel is completely round. So again, you can put a little mini bubble. Oop, I've dropped it. Pick it up. In fact, when I've done the 100 before, I've put 2 mini levels on. So I've actually put one at the front and one at the rear like that. But I think these mini levels are, to me, they're accurate enough for the purpose of scope leveling. I don't think they're 100% accurate, and obviously with a large level, let's just get my tripod back out. With a large level like these two, you know, you're measuring over a much larger distance, so you know you're going to be more accurate. Obviously, if you're measuring over a larger distance, the level is going to be more accurate than if you're just measuring over ½ inch. But like I say, I can't really see that there was too much discrepancy between a big level, you know, a sort of medium level, a small level, and these minimal levels. To my eye, they're all pretty much accurate enough for the purposes that I would want them for. So anyway, I just thought it might be an interesting video just to compare the levels that I've got. Yeah, so there you go. Cheers. Bye.